Good evening. Looks like we have almost a full house tonight. It's great. We should have no welcome limits. No. Anyhow, okay. We're going to start with the adoption of the agenda, and there is an amendment. Councilor Long.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented with the addendum, item number 7.5.
7.5. So add 7.5, and it is Minister of Housing meeting. Is there any other amendments or additions to the agenda? There is a circular. It is the November 8th protective services. Jean.
My apologies,
So
I did it wrong.
it's to be replacing September or October. This is October.
Yes,
So replace September that is in your package. So with the replacement of the enforcement services report.
yes.
So that will be the two amendments to the agenda. Is there any other additions, amendments, anything else? Could I, all in favor then? As presented, thank you. Schedule delegations. We have two guests here tonight.
If you'd like to come forward, and you may place yourself at the questioners. Amanda App, ma'am, yes, I'm sorry, ADCO.
Inquisition table.
I'm reading the agenda and I know it's ADCO.
I guess I'm on call, so I would normally not have my phone here, but so hopefully I don't get a call.
Okay, if you could introduce yourself for the camera and the recording.
Oh, I forgot about a camera.
Press the red button. There we
He's
are.
all that
Did it come on? Yes.
I'm Amanda Mattern, the Customer Service Supervisor with ACO Electric, and today with me I have...
Rick Savekla, the Area Supervisor for the High Prairie area.
So tonight we're here to talk to you folks about our franchise report, and you may notice that in your package you don't have an actual report this year. You may remember, and Brian, I know you were here last year, or Arlen, but I'd asked you guys a few questions last year on, you know, how did you like the report? What things did you want to see changed? All that lovely stuff. So we are revamping the way that we're going to present that. It looks like we might go to more of a digital view of it, so that information is available monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever you guys would like to see. That doesn't mean that I still won't come to council at least once a year just to touch base and have a conversation, but we want to have that information readily available if needed. And then it's the information you want as opposed to take this is what we want you to see. So stay tuned, 2017 will change a bit. So that being said, again, our franchise reports are always a year behind, so this is 2015 information. So it's always weird because it's like a year later, but so 2015 franchise fees and taxes, our actual distribution for 2015 was 2.9 million. And at the time, your franchise fee was 6.25%. So we collected $181,685 in franchise fees for 2015. 16, you stayed the same, and I know you passed a motion to increase your franchise fees for 2017. So you'll see an increase of just over 1% on your 2017 distribution fees. So we've seen a steady increase, obviously, since 2005 to present time in the franchise fees. For a few reasons. Anytime there's a new service, that franchise fee goes up. When the cost of energy goes up, that franchise fee goes up, distribution charges. So it's been a pretty steady incline since 2005 when we started measuring the franchise fees. So I'm going to move along unless you have any questions about franchise fees, especially for the newer folks. You're good? Okay.
Okay, so in 2015 there, we had a little bit of program work that we completed in the community here. And basically what it was maintenance of the brushing that was done around the town. And it was done through the vast area of the whole metropolis here too. And there was roughly around $116,000 spent. Roughly around $116,000 spent on that program. And so far in 16, we've also been doing some other work in the community here, which we call a switch replacement program. And what we're doing in that is we're replacing what they have called porcelain switches. And the ones that we're putting up now, they're a polymer type of switch, which are a switch that doesn't decay and fall apart as very easily. And that is one program that we've been doing on the main lines that feed through the community here. And that's that 5L105 line that we'll talk about a little bit more in the moving on here as well. Okay.
Any questions about what
yes.
any of that means as far as the insulation, the main feeders, brushing? You guys probably saw, I mean, again, this is a year ago, but we had contractors in the area for quite some time working on the brushing, which is really awesome because that, you know, down the road cuts back on any outages we may have in the community. So,
As well as taking down some old lines
you betcha.
in the area.
Yeah, that's correct. Anything more on that though? Because I think we did do some work with the town themselves. They had some recommendations in 15 along the town staff around some of the areas that we did do some brushing in.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so everything was looked at.
Amanda looked at me and I said, yes.
Yeah.
Been on vacation.
Oh, okay.
He's not plugged in yet.
Okay, so, okay, yeah. The next piece that I'd like to go to now is the one that we talk about every year, and that's the system reliability piece of the puzzle here. Okay, and what that is that's the standard reliability data is delivered from the two basic statistics we have, and that is from frequency and duration, and that's what we that's what we get measured on. Okay, power outages occur for a lot of reasons, and the most common causes of unplanned outages are weather, of course, our third party with the electrical system. In these instances, ATCO Electric Service people are on that job, and then we go out as soon as we can to restore the power to the community.
So when we say third party, that's someone contacting our line.
Yeah, that's you know, a good example of that is we've had a few incidences here lately where people have hit transformers and like the pad mount transformers, the pedestals in the community, and so forth. Yeah. And then, of course, the other thing that we do have too is we also have planned outages that we do in the community as well, which are needed from time to time. That allows us to, you know, do our regular maintenance and repair on the system, and also to actually schedule in building new assets into the system as well.
So a lot of our planned outages in 2015 were due to the brushing, or when the guys go up to do the insulators, we obviously take an outage on that line, and we isolate the points so that we're not knocking out the whole town of High Prairie, obviously, but there is a need to take outage to maintain the system.
That's right. And with that being said too, is when we do have the planned outages, we do make sure that we do contact the businesses and the residential people as good as to the best of our ability for that as well. You know, we do find that is getting to be somewhat of a little bit of a challenge now with people losing their landlines and going to cell phones and, you know, not updating their phone numbers with their retailer that they use. So that does come with a couple hiccups at times. And, you know, it is something that we, if they do come into the office with a problem, we do remind them the steps that they have to follow. Okay, and then we record reliability information, and that's all done by the feeders or the lines that we have in the area here. And, you know, and some of the lines that we do have in this area here are mixed with both the urban residents, and then we do have one line here specifically that does have some rural people attached to it as well. And it has not very many residential customers on it as well either. I think it's mostly the one subdivision over here that there's no population in yet. And that could change in the future here because we are looking at, you know, possibly doing some line changes from substation to substation for reliability. It's always under review. We do it every year. Okay, so there are three main feeders that feed the town of High Prairie, and we do have the performance ratings on all 3 of them. And the one that we have, there's 2 different things that are reported on. It's the average interruption frequency index. That's the average. And the other one is the duration. That's the total average number of hours each customer's power is interrupted.
On average.
On average, yes. Okay, so the one line that we have in the community here that feeds the bulk of the town is called 5L105 line. And the duration that we have in that in 2015 is right around 2.39
Hours.
hours, yes. That's
On
the,
On
on
average.
average, yeah, that's the duration. And the frequency is 1.91. So that'll happen to a customer 1.91 times.
So I'm just going to jump in here really quickly because last year Linda had asked if I could go a little bit more into detail as far as how many outages were planned and how many were unplanned. So again, these are averages. So the average customer saw, 2.5 hour outage 1.91 times a year. Now the total outages that we had on that line, on line 5L105, was 25 outages in 2015, and 15 of those were planned, 10 being unplanned outages.
Okay, and the other feeder that does touch the piece of the town here is 5L 352 line, and that's the one that feeds over around the Tolko plant. And that one really, honestly, just does look after the plant, and it touches a little bit of, we got some street lighting off of that.
There's some street lighting, and I believe there's 2 commercial buildings off that.
Off
So
of that.
really, like 98.9%
Yeah.
of the town is off of 5L105, and then we have a couple stragglers on the other 2. So we still, by AUC standards, Alberta Utility Commission, we still need to report on those other 2 lines, even if you only had 1 customer.
That's right, because it's still in the community, in the franchise community. Okay, and the duration we had, oh, sorry. Oh. Yeah, and the duration on that one was, we had some, that was 10.33, and the frequency was 7.55. And that probably would have been mostly due to the planned outages, I believe.
The planned outages, because we were removing the understrung line on the big main feeder. So we had, that line had 63 outages. Oh my goodness, I should have made my note here. There were, of the 63, 48 of them were planned.
So basically out of the planned version. And the other one here is, we have that 5L 538, which is basically goes up and feeds up into the rural area here. And that has the subdivision that is not populated right now. And that one had, we had durations on that one of 9.63, and the frequency was 3.5 on, or just about 3.6 on that one as well. And that again would have been, that could have been done due to some storms and construction as well in that feeder too.
Yeah, so that one was less. That was 17 outages, and only 4 were planned.
That's right. Okay, now the overall picture from the ATCO electric system, our duration there was around 5.67, and the frequency average was 2.4, and that was with the customers throughout ATCO Electric.
Yeah, our whole service territory, that is the average for ATCO
Yeah.
Electric.
So our 5L105 line that represents the community here that has the bulk of them, we're quite well below that, over the average as well.
It's performing quite a bit higher than that.
Yeah.
And in fact, the CEA standard, this Canadian Electrical Association standard, their duration is 5.08 hours, and their frequency is 2.3.
Yeah.
So the town of High Prairie's main feeder is performing well below that.
Yeah. And I do think some credit to that is with going and doing the work, the system work we did in the past. That's really helped the community out a vast amount too.
Not only that, I mean, I'd like to take all of the credit for it, but if you guys remember 2015, it wasn't a terrible winter, right? We didn't have a ton of storms. When we come and sit here next year and we talk about 2016, probably not going to be so hot. I mean, we all know about the May snowstorms, right? So we had some folks that were out of power for quite some time and a number of outages. It was a really crappy May, June. So if I was a betting woman, I would say those numbers might go up a little bit for 2016, but.
Yeah. And actually, once a week I do get an actual report from our operators out of Vegreville, and I have to actually go through, you know, and verify, you know, were these outages over 10 hours? Were these outages, you know, what was the cause of them? Which line and feeder was, so that they are reported on accurately to the government too. So we do stay pretty diligent to making sure these numbers are very fair and accurate.
And that's a good point. I mean, our information is as good as the information that's put in. So our guys get a trouble call, and then they have to go out and they, you know, that's considered an outage, and there's an event that's created. Now the guys could be out there working for 2 hours, and then they forget to close out that system, and they drive home and they go to sleep, and then the next morning we're like, what the heck? Has this outage been going on for 24 hours? And then we need to look at the system and see, okay, he cleaned it up here, then we go up back in. So we make sure that the information and the data is valid all the time.
And it's getting a lot easier to do with the technology, because it's all tracked by events and the people that were responding and everything. So it's a very reliable resource and tool that's used. Okay.
Any questions on that before we move on?
Start over there first.
Councillor Danak, any questions? Councillor Long?
No, lots of stats.
Mhm.
So, but no, well done, thank you.
I have some questions, but they're general, so
Yeah.
not specifically on that yet.
Okay, so we can wait
I'll
till
ask
the end.
at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Panasic?
No questions yet.
Councillor Courtly?
I have some general questions too.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy?
Actually, you're talking about, sorry.
You were talking about a couple of the lines, and one being the line out to Toko,
Yes.
and the work you've been doing on that. Now, if and when they reopen, is that going to be a problem?
No.
You're all set that if they refurb, then you're good?
Yeah, that line to Toko right now is its own line
Okay.
that's out there right now, and it's very lightly loaded.
And the other one had to do more with the new hospital and new developments. You're already ahead of me on this one. And the extra power that
Yeah.
that will take, and that everything's...
We're good, and in fact, there's some redundancies to that system. There's a second transformer there, so that if there is any issues, and a loop feed. So if one transformer was to go down and there was an outage, we can feed the hospital from a different line and a different transformer altogether. So you're good to go.
Yes, and we actually just went through with the hospital here the other day, and they ran some tests on their units. So we actually had to use both lines that feed that to test it, because they have to have two different lines according to their policies.
And everything's good for the maximum amount they could use if they even develop our hospital a little bit more too?
Absolutely, yeah. So we go with, when we are sizing our transformer, it's based on not just the current load, but what they possibly could have. And so again, like I said, we've got the two transformers, and they gave us the operating load based on the fact that everything is up and running to make sure that we had enough power.
Okay. I guess the other one or two I had were general ones that I'll let everyone else deal with first.
Okay.
Good. So now we'll talk a little bit about lights. I'm super excited about some of this stuff. So the town has 376 lights. You are on the invested rate within the town. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the two different rates. We have a non-invested and an invested. The non-invested, we take care of the maintenance, but at the end of life, or if somebody were to hit that pole and you need to replace it, the municipality would be on the hook for that. Invested is we take care of all of that, and you guys have now are on the invested rate. So all of your lights within the municipality are invested. So because of that, we are, because they're all on the invested, we are prone to Schedule C, which is in your franchise agreement. So there are a few things that we need to report on. One, lights out. So if someone sees a light out in the community and they report that out, we have to fix that light within 2 weeks. Otherwise, we pay a penalty to the town. And I think it was last year that we ended up having to pay, because we had 2 lights that we didn't fix within the 2 weeks. Happy to report that in 2015, all of the lights were repaired within the 2-week time. We did not have any new underground breaks in the community in 2015, so nothing to fix then. Our next streetlight painting, which the town may participate in if they choose, is in 2025. And our next streetlight pole test program, and I need to make sure that, so there's a streetlight pole test, and that is on wood poles. That will be in 2022. Our next David inspection, so the difference there is those are the steel streetlights, is happening early 2017. So we pulled together all the data from our David inspections throughout ACO electric territory in 2016, and on average, communities were seeing about 1% of their lights that were failing what we call white tag, meaning that it's a safety concern, we need to replace it right away. And then about 3.5% of the lights were failing a red tag, meaning that we have 2 years to replace that. So based on the amount of lights that you folks have in town, we're anticipating that next year you'll have at least 3 lights that will fail, that will need to be replaced right away. And then another 13, again, this is based on the data we've compiled for 2016, that you'll need to replace 13 lights in 2019. However, you're on the invested rate, so none of that will be at the municipality's cost. We'll come in and replace that. The exciting news, though, is that we are now moving to LED lights. So I saw a couple of you folks at our booth at the AUMA, and so we were showcasing our new GE light. Yeah. They're pretty awesome. So we are no longer stocking HPS lights. Now we do have some, right, that's in inventory. But as we use up that inventory, and we're thinking that's probably going to be in the next couple months, as a light goes out, the LED light it'll be replaced with an LED head. This new brand that we've gone with is really cool in that we can have an HPS light, an LED light, and an HPS. Whereas before you couldn't do that, you couldn't mix and match. You'd have to do like a whole street. Now you can do the 1-for-1. So exciting times. LED is here, so we're really excited about it. My electrician has wired up this really cool stand for me that has the HPS light on one side and the LED on the other. So I was going to talk to Vern and see if he wanted me to come in and do a little show and tell. But so you will definitely be getting some LED lights in 2017.
What's the power draw difference?
It's fantastic. So right now on a 100-watt HPS light, we'll be replacing that with a 41-watt. So you'll see a dip in your usage for sure.
So what happens when usage goes down, cost to you goes down, but maintenance stays the same?
But you're on the invested rate, so we take care of all that maintenance. So
but
that's
as a
on
business
us.
case, that doesn't make much sense in a way, does it? I mean, how much, because you're making less money, revenue, because...
Well, I mean, we still, our rate is our rate, right? So we still have to maintain LED lights. So you don't have to change the bulbs, but you still need to clean the heads of so there still is some maintenance, it's just not as much.
So you'll see a reduction in maintenance,
Yes.
which will offset
Yep.
the drop in usage.
Yep.
Otherwise, the rate would go up, wouldn't it?
No, the rate is not going to go up.
No, but-
So the rate stays the same. Where you're going to see the difference is in your usage. So, we're going to see less maintenance, which is our O&M, right, that we have to pay to operate. So we're going to see less O&M dollars for us to pay to go and maintain the light. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Will our franchise fee amount go down because the usage goes down?
You could see a little bit of a dip, right, because it's based on usage. Now, I don't know that I'd have to do some math for you to see what that would look like.
But at this point,
there
you
could.
think that the cost is going to be offset by the
So you're going to see
less
about a
expense.
$2.40 per light per month cost savings going on the LED. So now we're not coming in and wiping out all 376 lights, right? So you're going to have the one of. So maybe next year we have 5 of those lights. So, the math on that is, what is that? You're going to see $20 a month for the 12, right? It would be there would be a substantial difference if we came in and changed out all the lights at once, but that would be a capital cost to the community if you guys decided, well, no, we love these LEDs, these are awesome, Amanda, we want to change them all out. Then it's going to be a bigger drop, and you would then see a dip in your franchise fees.
we have a terrible, terrible vandalism problem here. Kids shoot these lights out all the time.
It's funny, I've been hearing that from a lot of people lately.
they've been in my yard 4 times this month.
They're very nice, and I think some of you saw the lights. There is very little light pollution. So the light lights what it's supposed to. It's going to light the road. You're not going to see that in your yards, shining into your windows. You're not going to see the light going up, so you'll be able to stand in the middle of town and still be able to see stars. It's really cool. I think you're going to be really happy with the product. So we'll make sure to send out an email when we're changing one so that y'all can take a look at it.
Yeah, well,
Let us know what you think.
Exactly.
We'll all be standing at the light pole looking at, waiting for the dark to come.
Yeah. Well, you even look in the cities and stuff now, and you can see they've done their arteries, right? You know, it's a good. That's a good thing. That's what you'll see.
And they look a lot more like sleek. You know, they're really nice.
Yeah. Okay. And when these like these white tagged ones, like when we find these white tagged Abbots, they do get replaced very fast because you know they're up on the list. That means that they're done their life. Eh? You know, so that's the one reason that we have to go through and we have to be very diligent in getting these changed.
How much do those lights cost?
The LED head, there's about a $40 difference between the HPS and the LED. They've come down substantially in the last couple of years.
So that is how much then?
The heads are, and I hate to, I'm on camera. I'm going to throw out a number there. Let's say our HPS lights are $350, they'd be $300, but don't quote me.
Yeah.
Whereas they used to be double. Like when we first started looking at LED, it just wasn't, it didn't make sense, right? The return on investment just wasn't there. But now with the light patterns, the way they are, and the cost, it just doesn't make sense to continue with HPS.
It's the future.
The future is now.
Any other before we ask questions?
Yep, just a little bit more. So customer complaints. If someone calls in to raise an issue or concern with the Alberta Utilities Commission, we, ACO, have 2 days to respond to that complaint and come up with either a resolution or a plan for a resolution, and we track those. We need to maintain a 75% customer satisfaction, otherwise we as a utility are fined. So I'm happy to report that we only had one customer complaint in the High Prairie area in 2015. It was a high cost of power, so one of our local staff investigated and discovered that the site's price schedule could be changed. So when I say price schedule, there's like a residential, commercial, industrial. So our customer service representative did a site comparison for the customer and found that they could find a better rate for this person, and we changed the rate, and then we actually even went back on their bill and backdated a bit for them. So we came to a resolution, everybody was happy.
So if your numbers are close, we're looking at about $115,000 to replace all the lights in town.
No, because that's just the material, so we would, there's labor.
How many millions
So a
of dollars?
ballpark, and I can come in and that was one of the things I was gonna mention sort of in our closing, is that we can do a presentation. We've had a number of communities that want us to come in and do an LED conversion presentation, but for quick math, about $500 a light is a good ballpark.
That's ruined my numbers.
Yeah, sorry, man. But that's a good ballpark to go with, about $500 a light.
How many lights are on this highway?
Oh, I don't know that.
We counted them.
I'm not
92, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right,
on the highway.
on the highway.
So there's where you see a little bit more of a cost savings, because most of the time the highway lights are 150 watt HPS, and with the new GEs, we can go with the 41 watt. So that's where you see your best bang for your buck, is actually converting the 150s into the LEDs. So the 100 watts go with the 41, and then the 150s, now we can put on these 41 watts as well. So that's huge.
And that's where they shoot them out all the time.
Yes,
the
that's
All
what
the
I
time.
thought.
It's so dark.
What's even cooler, and I know you'll love this, Linda, is that these GE lights that we have purchased have this, so I don't know if I should have brought my light and I could show you. So there's like a little black knob on the top of the lights you guys might have seen. So they are compatible with this GE grid controller system. So this little head goes on top of all the LED lights and they can talk to each other. So you would be able to sit in your office and take a look and pull up the light on the corner of 50th and you can see what usage it is. You can, from your office, click the buttons and say, I want to dim or turn off the lights in this section of town, or I want at 5 o'clock or whatever time in the morning, I want the lights out. You can do all of that with these GE grid controllers, which are super cool.
And that's coming on those lights.
That's available now. No, it's they're ready to have it. It's a plug and play. So this GE grid controller is a newer product. So I want to say Cold Lake is doing a pilot right now on, because they've decided to convert all of their lights to the LED. So they're going to do a pilot on. They're a little worried about. They're not sure about cold. It's used in California lots right now, like on. They can change their lights to like red, white, and blue. Like they have all this fancy technology, but the conditions are different than in Alberta. So we're doing a pilot on them, but it's really neat. Mm-hmm. So that is something to consider too.
With Christmas music.
Yeah.
When will their pilot be done?
That I don't know, but I can follow up on that and shoot an email out to council, and then I can update you as the pilot goes along and see how it's working.
Definitely. Because those were the two questions I wanted to ask you. LED lighting and street lights, can we shut off every second one of them?
That's the technology that's out there. You know.
Yeah, so this you would actually be able to turn it on and off yourself. You would have control of that. Not only that, but if a light was out, it would tell you. It's like an alert on your phone. It's like as if someone, you've got cameras at your home and someone walks by your house, you'd get that notification. You'd get the notification if a light was out. So the technology is fantastic, and really you have control of it all. So like I said, we're not sure how that fares in northern Alberta, but we could definitely take a look at it. And I can put together a presentation with a little bit more detail and bring one of our engineers out from Edmonton, who's like the light guru, and talk some actual numbers as far as what would that cost to convert the town, and what would it cost to install these GE controllers as well.
Good idea, because right now going green there's money available.
Yes, and
I'm sure we have somebody who can do a grant just like that.
I did hear from another community that there is an initiative, a green initiative, for LED lights. I couldn't find anything, and I tried to dig it out before I came here just in case the question came up. I heard it's through the AUMA, so I'll keep digging and I'll call our contacts, but I hear that there is a grant out there, so that's something to consider as well.
Okay.
I'm just making a note here to set up a presentation. Would you like that as a council meeting, as a special meeting? It's about a half an hour long presentation.
Well, we'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
You have to do it council, if that happens.
Yeah, because we already got a half an hour on this one.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do.
Last
are we
thing
done?
is just one of our favorite things, obviously, is community activity. We pride ourselves in being in the community and participating. So just a couple highlights. We did our Go Girl Go Guy at our ATCO Electric office, which is a really popular event for the kids. We always participate in the Elks Pro Rodeo. Our grade 5 electrical safety presentation is very popular. We go into the school and work with the teachers when they're doing their electrical section of their class. We had the ATCO Energy Theater, so we actually have actors that come out and teach the kids, so that was here. And then we partnered with the firefighters for Volunteer Firefighter Week and held an open house and a barbecue. I think Linda and I would have a picture at little fire hat, which is super cute. And then of course provide several organizations and groups with door prizes and some sponsorship dollars. So
Weren't you at the golf tournament too?
yes, I was.
Yeah.
I love the golf tournament.
That's a good
I hear I make a good Caesar.
Well, that was your fault.
Yeah, that's all me.
Well,
All right,
thank you.
so any questions for us?
And I must admit, ATCO is a really valued member of our business community and of our non-government agency community also, because they recognize that ATCO is very supportive of any of their initiatives. So
Oh, it's nice to hear.
I appreciate the fact that you do step up as corporate citizens and you walk the talk that a lot of the businesses say they do, but ATCO does. So we
Well, thank you.
appreciate that.
We enjoy doing that, so thank you.
Councillor Gilroy.
Make me feel mean now.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm not that bad. So obviously you'll have a parade float in the light of one, right?
Yes, we will.
And you put your little light switch on the back of that so you can show the different ones to the people.
That is a good idea. I'm not sure if we'll have time to do that, but.
And hand
I'll
out the
bring it
rest of
back.
those daytimers. No. Just a quick question. Is there any news as to, and I've heard rumors, but any news as to if there's going to be any reduction in employees in our area, or are they going to stay the same?
No news.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's no secret that we went through some big reductions this last year. 2016 was tough for our ACCO family, absolutely. We are hoping that there's not going to be any in 2017, but can't make any guarantees.
Always looking after the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Councillor Corley.
My question was along those lines as well. I was just curious on manpower. How are you sitting for the local area? Are you meeting all the needs, like the outages? Where was it? You know, the length of time, is it due to short of manpower, or is it? That's where I was going. I just curious because I know a lot of the guys that aren't there now, right? And I do know a lot of the guys that are still there. So I'm just curious how that's working out. So.
Well, we are like any other organization where we actually had to, change. We maybe were a little bit heavy with manpower. And what we've done, starting at the very start of this year was we've actually had to restructure how we do our business, which is, I think, moving along fairly well. We've actually turned some of our service staff into the construction type of roles too, so we're more versatile than we were, which I think is been a very strong asset to what we do. We've even took some of our non-essential work and focused more on the work that has our high priorities, and still, we still maintain our safety and all of that stuff too, because that's very, very high on our list. Like, we don't ever want to send anybody home hurt because they were working too hard and they're cutting corners. So I think at present right now, to answer your question there, Arlen, is we probably do have the right amount of people. We're using them a little bit differently. We're keeping our field-based people more in the field, out doing what they need to do, and our office people are more they're doing the office functions, and we're even utilizing our clerical staff different than we used to. It's ongoing change, and if we don't do it, we won't be here.
And I think, the reduction is was for two reasons. I mean, number one, obviously the economy is down, and that's down everywhere. And we don't just maintain lines; we need to build new lines, right, and put assets in the ground. And unfortunately, the numbers for that are low. But second to that is that the biggest complaint from our customers over the last 5 years is the cost. And so you need to look at your operation as a whole, and unfortunately, that's the first thing, because that's where you're going to save the most amount of money to the end users, which is our customers. And so that's been the goal, and so we're working towards that. And like Rick said, I don't think that our service standards have suffered.
Yeah, and the one thing that I really do kind of have to pride is we have the one thing we do have in town here right now is a very exceptional line crew. The crew that we have in place right now are doing an awesome job.
I agree.
Yeah. And I hear it from the other areas, like they're meeting their jobs, they're coming in ahead of schedule and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Patasic.
Yeah, it's good to hear that we're below the averages and outages and everything else, so congratulations, good job. My question would relate to how are the rates looking for the next year? Are the rates looking to be the same, or I know the carbon tax is coming in, and I'm wondering how that's going to impact the rates here, so that's my first question.
Yeah, so our rates change quarterly. So sometimes you'll see an up and a down depending, because we have so many different riders. Of course, the carbon tax is going to increase, but we are now operating a bit more efficiently because our costs for doing business are lower. So I believe that the first quarter you might see is at a wash because now there's the carbon tax. Our operating costs have been down, but we anticipate that over the year they should come down. Rates overall, our distribution rates. I can't speak to transmission, but our distribution.
Okay, so you don't see a big increase to the end user?
No,
then
I don't.
at that. And I was also, I thought in town you had to go with electric or with ATCO for power, but I just heard that you can go with other providers. Is that true?
We're the wires provider.
Yeah.
So we deliver the electricity to the retailers. The retailer delivers it to your house. So there are a number of options for
Yeah, with
retailers
the
in the town.
retailers.
And in fact, we always suggest that people go to the UCA, Utilities Commission, Utility Consumer Advocate website, and I can send out a link to whoever. And on there, you pop in your postal code, and it will give you the whole list of all the retailers in your area. And not only that, but you can compare rates. So you can pop in ATCO Energy, because we also do have a retail side, and say NMAX, and they'll show you the differences. It's a really cool tool.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Nice to see.
I'll send out a link for sure.
I didn't even realize that was in our town.
Just to interrupt here, we found that out, as a matter of fact, just this past month or so, and we got a bunch of your little cards
Yes.
to put on our counter to give to our customers when they first move to town, so they are aware of that also.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I will just mention, I mean, you guys are free to choose whichever retailer you should like, but ATCO Energy is doing a promotion for new and existing customers because we understand that it's been a tough time in the communities all over Alberta, so we are not going to be charging any usage for January for all of our existing customers and any new customers.
This coming January.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, so.
They also had a $25 credit if you signed up last month.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I will send out the link to the website, and like you said, you've got the tickets, but it's shocking. You don't realize how many retailers are out there, because people always just hear ATCO and they think the retailer or Direct Energy, and they think that is it, and it is not. There are tons. Yeah.
I'd like that one too.
I'll send it out to the group.
Done? Councillor Long?
I'm good.
Councillor Necker? Okay. Then I think, I hate to wrap it up on such a kind of a stern note, but the High Prairie area is one of your busiest area in your region, isn't it? The Fox Creek, High Prairie, going
Yes.
down that way?
Yep.
I would hate to see, and I think I said this last year, that positions are moved to Slave Lake because it's a centralizing option. I was disappointed that the district manager here was downsized and that the position went to Slave Lake. I was under the understanding that it was a temporary type of arrangement, that you were still looking at High Prairie as a hub type of thing, but I do see that it is more and more the day-to-day operation is status quo. And I'm disappointed to see that the Councillor Emter's position was not refilled here. I don't believe it was.
No, it hasn't as of yet. Now, we haven't lost that position. It's still available, but our numbers need to warrant filling that position. So you are correct in that Fox Creek is definitely our busiest area, and that is part of the High Prairie District. But even there, the numbers are down from what they were the year before. So we anticipate, based on our forecasting that we do in our meetings with municipalities and key customers, that we're going to see a bit more coming down the pipe late 2017, early 2018. So I feel pretty confident that we will be able to fill that position again. I just don't know quite when.
Okay. And as you're aware from conversation around the table, we do watch to see
Absolutely.
where positions are going and what's happening to organizations. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you
and
for
seeing
having
us.
us. Sorry
Yes.
for taking so much time.
Hand out
Our
freebies at the light up.
We have some really cool stuff that we're putting in the bags.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have no more scheduled delegations, but public delegations. Do we have any public delegations? Any public delegations to step forward? No, I don't think so. But, are you from the radio station?
Yes.
Ah,
I'm
see?
the news guy over there. Thank you.
I had seen you before, and then I was thinking, where have I seen this person? But it's the radio station reporter. So,
Good night.
And you wrote everything down about ATCO.
so since we have no public delegations, we will move on to protective services. And I don't think we need a motion on the scheduled delegation, do we? No. Okay, protective services, could we have a motion, Councillor Gilroy?
I make the motion that council receive the senior peace officer's October 2016 report for information.
Is there anything in the report you would like to draw to our attention?
Just a couple items. The fighting bylaw, or the fighting portion of it, is the last couple of months, last month especially, with teenagers have been, for some reason, involving themselves in fighting. So we were asked to go to the St. Andrews School and give presentations of our bylaw, fighting bylaw, to, well, basically the whole school, from grade 5 to grade 12. So we've done three presentations already, and we'll be going back probably within the next couple weeks to do some more. So, and recently there was a news release by the RCMP. We're finding that the fights are involving, obviously with the social media, kids are using their cell phones to video the fights, and then posting them on YouTube or Facebook, whatever you want. So we're targeting that portion too. We've charged a couple for inciting, I guess you're gonna call it inciting a fight. Actually standing there and videoing it and posting it.
Can you trace it back?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Good.
So
Has it lowered it?
Yes and no. The day we gave a presentation, that noon, there was a fight. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that maybe they weren't in school, but I believe so. I believe it's.
They're more aware.
Yes, exactly. So we're focusing on that for the next month or so.
Do they ever say why they're fighting, or is it just straight fighting?
The odd time it's over girlfriend, boyfriend thing. It might be just the way they
looked at each other,
yeah. Or maybe they said something that they took it the wrong way or whatever. It's nothing that's.
Okay.
Slashed with a hockey stick.
Well, that's probably, yeah.
2 minutes in the box.
Anything else you want to draw our attention to?
We've had a couple calls for service to the arenas for public in-talks. Obviously the weather's changing. It's getting colder out, so there's a few people around the town that stop there, and the staff allow them to warm up for a few minutes and then just continue on. But on occasion, there's a few they get cozy and they start to drink a bit and fall asleep. So anyway, they're called and we pick them up, and on one occasion we had to ban a subject for that reason. He was a repeat and he just wasn't getting the message, so we banned him. So other than that, pretty much a typical month.
When do you take vacation? Did you take this summer? In the summer usually?
Did I? Yes.
Erica also in the summer?
Erica just took a holiday week ago. She went to
Okay.
Mexico.
I was just wondering when you schedule your holidays, but it's usually in the summer months.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Councillor Gilroy?
I noticed that, at least last winter, and since you said it is getting colder, how often do you guys, or does our law enforcement check on the post office where quite often on a Saturday night that will be used, or on the post office boxes for people to either drink a little bit more or rest, we'll call it?
Well, on our nightly patrols, we drive by, and if we see people in there, we'll stop.
Full view.
Yeah, that's the nice, there's, and the lights are always on, so.
Councillor Courtly?
No question, looks good, Al, thank you.
Councillor Panasic?
Just had one question. I'm just curious about the miners breaking curfew. Is that a big problem, or do people know about this, or do you just give warnings if they're out there, or if they're causing trouble, then you enforce it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's usually they're going to the Mac store for a snack or chips, and we just ask them where they're going, and they said to just pick up some chips and then head in straight home. So, but yeah, if we see them, say at the playground here, playing on the equipment and stuff, we'll walk over to them and move them, tell them to go home. So, it's
Putting equipment on.
yeah.
Councillor Long, any other questions? Councillor Danaka?
Just a couple. Regarding the fail to license dogs and owners still refuse to license the dogs, are there consequences to somebody who doesn't license their dog, or do you just keep fining them, or how does that work?
Yes, we fine them, and they go to court. So that's the steps we take. Yeah.
Okay, so these two that aren't licensing, are we at that point where we're going to court yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And my second question is regarding the traffic coalition meetings that you've been holding.
Yes.
How are they going, and are there any issues that have been brought forward that you are looking at?
There's a number of, I think they had a list of 5 or 6. I don't have them in front of me, and I can't remember what they were, but we're addressing the most important ones that, and we're having another meeting next Tuesday, so I'll make a report and include it in here as to what we're focusing on.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, does the administration have any questions?
None.
None. Wow. Thank you very much for your report, and we appreciate you attending.
Thank you.
So, all in favor of accepting for information? Yes.
Yeah,
Councillor.
information purposes.
All in favor? Carried. Tell you're active. I can tell you're active. And he's staying because we're going to talk about library parking. So, could I get a motion? Oh, library parking. Councillor Danaka?
The council give first reading to bylaw 14-2016 this 22nd day of November 2016.
Could you give us some information on this?
As it states here, for us to enforce in parking there, transportation indicated that the town had to have a bylaw. So I've talked with Brian Martinson, and I came up with a permit option, I guess you want to call it an option, for the patrons to, whoever uses or utilizes the library, if they're going to park there, have this permit on their visor or the windshield, so we know they're a person using the library. If they don't have it, then that's gives us reason to stop and indicate or to fine them actually.
Okay. So that's basically behind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Long.
Even though we own the building, we own the parking lot, we need a bylaw in order to enforce no parking in that area, even though we own it?
On the highway. Sorry,
Just on the highway,
yeah.
not the parking lot itself.
Yeah, just on the highway.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
No, totally clear.
Okay. Councillor Tanaka, did you have anything more you'd like to?
Just from what's put forward in order to, there was an issue where Simone had called, or somebody from the library, Tracy called.
Yes.
And asked for the peace officers to go over because somebody was parking there, and that was when they were told that we needed to have a bylaw. So they talked to transportation, and they said it's up to the town, and in order for that to be enforced, you need to have a bylaw. So that's why I brought this forward. I wasn't sure if it needed its own separate bylaw or if it could have been included in the traffic bylaw.
This is included. This is an amended.
This is
into
an
the
addendum to the traffic
Yeah.
bylaw.
Yes.
But I can speak to that. What happens is that the way it's written in the Municipal Government Act, if you change a bylaw, you open it up to all other kinds of changes and discussions and everything else. Since the only thing we want to change on this, it's best to have a separate bylaw on just that and have it as when you have your original bylaw, traffic bylaw, it'll include this little section, but it's not the signed copy, it's just the amalgamated copy for our own purposes. That way you can have 4 or 5 different changes to it. Then when you got too many changes, then you do the whole new bylaw again, and then you got one again. But otherwise you open up the whole bylaw again. So it's one of those things that Municipal Affairs suggested, it's best to do it this way.
Councillor Gilroy.
I actually have a problem with this, with putting a bylaw in about this, for a couple of reasons. One, if you notice at they had the party the other night, the Christmas party, there were cars lined all the way down the street. So my question would be, obviously, does that mean that only the people parked in front would then have to have had a special permit for that day? You know, because they're parking in front. My other concern, it's a highway. And I'm coming out of Max is very difficult, and getting in there is difficult at times. I'm just not keen on the possibility of someone saying, I've got a permit so I can park there for any length of time, any duration of time. I was thinking this is more of, the purpose was to drop someone off and go, as opposed to park in there. So I'd be more in favor of a no parking zone there, since it is a highway, as opposed to paying for a parking permit.
Councillor Corley.
I just want to clarify this. So you're talking on the highway, like on the main highway running east-west, in front of the library, correct?
Yes, yeah.
The library.
The library, yeah.
Okay.
There's actually only enough room for 2 vehicles, I believe.
Yeah.
1 semi.
1 semi, yeah.
When I get there, when it gets to my turn, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at, right? I'm thinking, well, the guys that pull up to go and grab some stuff out of the Max and different things. Truck traffic in general, parking in town to stop and grab any type of snacks or any type to drop money into our town. There's nowhere to park. So if we limit that again, they're not going to park. And guess what? They go through. And we don't, the Max or the other stores, or they don't get that $5-10 or whatever they're dropping. So we have to be careful of what we're doing here. You limit that and you start, there's no, I'm not for this. I mean, I understand that there may be some issues with the odd time with parking out front, but they still have a parking lot, and I don't know. Again, I have a hard time with that, because we're either open for business and let people park in town for a while and get their needs and carry on, or we're not, I guess. So I'm against it myself. So
Councillor Panasic.
I guess I just wanted to find out more about what is the problem. Is people parking there for a day or two, or is it because Semi parks there for 15 minutes while he's running and getting his coffee, or what is the problem?
Okay.
The issue is the semi-traffic that parks in front of the library and goes to Max, whatever. In regards to what Councillor Courtney was saying, they have a parking lot. They have 3 stalls in that parking lot. That's it. There is no other parking for the library at all. Not on the opposite side of the building, because that's an easement or a right-of-way. There's no parking there. The only spots that they really have is there are three stalls in the parking lot or in front of the building. And it's just in the area in front of the building that they want to have that no parking, patron only stuff is what they want.
You know, and I look at this as, you know, you go into some of the bigger cities and you don't get to park right outside your door all of the time and just walk 5 steps. You might have to park in the, you know, the town's parking lot and walk across the street to get there, you know, so that's the battle that I have with this one too. I mean, there's parking, it's just not right there. And yes, we do get awfully used to having parking right outside your door when you're in that small town. Even to do anything, it's you like to be right outside the door. But yeah, I have some issues with this one too, a little bit, about saying no parking there and having to get a permit. And is it often that the trucks are parked there, that because they're just there for 10 minutes, and that's the biggest issue, is the semis kind of thing? Because nobody else is really parking there, I don't think, is it?
No, but they have a patron-only sign in front of the library. Yeah. On the side of the library, it says patrons only, but it's that area directly in front of the library that they're looking for the bylaw to cover. And if somebody's parked there, they can phone somebody, like the bylaw will come and say, please move your vehicle or whatever. Access to the library is very limited in terms of parking again. And you have to think of the issues you have, families dropping off kids for their programs. I understand what you're saying. I mean, they could park in the town lot and walk across, but if you've got 3 kids, do you want to, like you're walking across there and then you're walking across there. It's an ease of access as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can drop people off in the parking lot and then drive by, and so there's other ways around it.
If there's room in the parking lot.
But you can't park here, even if they're all full, but you could drop kids off and then park and stuff. Yeah. But by the time, I'm just trying to think of this, because by the time Sammy's parked there, somebody recognizes it as a problem, phones the peace officer, or they try to get there, and then, they're already gone, right? So I don't know if they're parking there long term, yes, I can see that as more of an issue, but if it's the 5 or 10, yeah.
Okay, I work in that building. When I go to work in the morning, there's usually a semi parked in front of the library, and it is someone that's going into the Mac store to get coffee. The library isn't open. I come there at noon. That library, the parking lot is usually at 1 o'clock. There is spaces galore in that parking lot, and the library is open. The Show Me, which is the children's program upstairs, is no longer running. And there were a lot of parents that were going to that on certain days of the week. They're not there anymore. The parking lot has, I would say, more than enough capacity at this point. There are not 3 stalls allocated to the library. There is a sign that says in the parking lot, there's a sign on the building that says library parking only, but that whole parking lot is scramble parking. If you were to actually look at the lease that the library never signed, There's nothing in there saying allocation of stalls, you are guaranteed 3 stalls. The only one that actually has stalls is the Lesser Slave Lake Economic Alliance, and it's at the back of the building, and it has 2 stalls, and it's included in the rent, in their lease, and nobody uses it because occasionally I might take my vehicle to work. Most of the time I get dropped off. So I don't see this as an issue that is needing a bylaw. However, if they want people to move along, we could put up a sign as we did by the post office, because they had a problem there also with people that parked there and stayed and stayed and stayed. And we put up a sign that said 15-minute parking only. And I think that that's the way to get this issue, because really you want people to be able to park there, but you want to move them along too. So perhaps that would be a better solution than to actually say, this is no parking except permit. Again, I don't see a semi-driver coming over here and buying a $50 permit at all. He's gonna go and get his coffee and leave town. So maybe that would be a better solution. It's a loading zone. That's what it is. And I guess my other concern is, if we were to do that for the library, why wouldn't we do it for Fields? They have a lot of people that park in front of Fields.
Or the museums.
Or the museum, or Amiros.
Amiros or the town office.
Amiros always, not always, it's an absolute, but quite often, has logging trucks or planes or whatever right at the crosswalk, right there. And then you have the problem getting out of Friesen Brothers with the trucks parked right along there. And then you have the trucks that park right by KFC, so if you're trying to get out to go around, you can't see half the time. I know they spend dollars, but somebody's gonna get smoked one of these times for the sake of us having $50 in a restaurant being spent in our town, and some kid is gonna walk out and get hit or something because of these vehicles on the highway. It's wrong. We shouldn't allow it. We do, and I understand why we're doing it. I just hope that we don't ever have to question ourselves going, is it worth it? Because somebody is gonna get run over. We see it, we've seen it before. We've seen it where kids are zipping out between the cars and the highways, and you're in front of Fields, and it was just a couple of years ago, somebody was hit. So, pardon me?
Adults do it.
Adults do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
All right.
yeah.
Is there any other comments? So we have first reading of this bylaw. And no more comments? Then all in favor of first reading? Opposed? It's defeated. So, and he's not leaving yet because he's going to talk about the post office.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah.
We're running between.
Well, yeah, that's,
Oh, when you leave it.
This is the best part, coming up.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
So, could we get a motion then? Councillor Gilroy.
The council received the peace officer's report regarding traffic issues around the post office for information, and that council directed administration to contact East Prairie Métis Settlement and have the right signage installed.
And do we know what the right signage is?
Not
Okay.
That's why we have the.
if you read the report here, we did a couple observations during the lunch hour from 11:30 to 1:30. Infractions are listed in, or not infractions, but I shouldn't say, let me rephrase that, but the observations we've seen are listed here. There were quite a few that enter from the back on 48th, from 48th Street on from the back alley. which is noticeably at times an issue, because the people that come off the 52nd Avenue are angle parked this way, and when you come off 48th Street, obviously there's not enough room to actually swing around, and
They're not aligning.
yeah. So there are some issues when people are trying to back out. You have to be, and that is one of the issues. The other ones were, there's a few that they're exiting on 52nd and coming out instead of going, So it is a little bit of confusing there, especially if somebody's trying to go in, people are coming out. So that's where the signage comes into play here. I've been in contact with the administrator from East Prairie. She's going to call me whenever she's in town next time, and we're going to do a meet and go through possible solutions as to where or what signage should be put in. And the one or the two signs I can recommend right now would be entrance only, do not exit, and then at the back on the back alley, 48th Street, is exit only. So whether people adhere to that or read the signs.
Okay, so you're going to come into the main doors at the post office, going north-south. You're going to go in that way, and you're going to see entrance signs on both sides.
Yep.
And then if you were to look at the back of that entrance only, it would say no exit.
Right.
And then you back out, or you come out, and then you go out the alleyway, and that says exit only. And on the alley side, it says no entrance.
Yeah, that might be an issue too, because there are people using the back alley that access the apartment buildings. So
No, it would only be on the driveway out of the post office.
What is the alley?
Not on the alley, because the alley is free flow.
exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So it's only on as you're driving into the post office. And it says exit only. No, it says no entrance, no entrance. So the freight truck, of course, the mail truck, would be the only one driving in and out of there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's your recommendation.
Yes.
Councillor Long, you want to start? I'll go.
I'm glad we're talking about this because as a town councillor, we get our normal complaints.
Yes.
This barricade in front of the post office is probably one of the most controversial, disliked, but ugly solutions we've ever had. But I understand why it's there. And so the median is being planned for 2017 for the remediation work when it's done. That's great, but right now, it's causing more problems than it ever tried to solve, I think. We had issues at the intersection, but now we have all of these issues in the parking lot, and I hear about it daily. And so I hope we come to some sort of a resolve here. This might be a solution to it. It doesn't negate the fact that our temporary solution wasn't the best choice, I think. We should have done something a little different, but it is what it is. So good luck with the signs. Hope it alleviates some of the complaining.
If we go to a continuous barricade, then people won't be able to walk between the two. Right now, the barricades have spaces, so that's where some of the pedestrian close calls are happening, because people are walking from the Burger Baron parking lot and going between these barriers, which, if it was a permanent or a continuous barricade, they'd have to use the street crosswalk.
Yeah.
Normally, but.
Councillor Tanaka.
I was just going to say the barricades have spaces in between, so people are going through there, but closing them off is just going to make people jaywalk. They're not going to go down to to the corner and walk across. We know that, but I just wonder if you can expand a little on the pedestrian near misses at 15 between the barricades. Like, are we talking like really, really close, like serious accident type stuff, or
Well,
what's
no.
your definition of a near miss, I guess?
Well, the pedestrian has to stop because the vehicle either didn't see them or chose not to stop. They have to stop before they cross, which it happens quite a bit. Now, if they went to where they're supposed to cross, normally a crosswalk, but it would be preventable.
But we don't have a jaywalking bylaw, do we?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
You're talking about a small town again. Councillor Panasic.
Yeah, again, it's that wanting to park right outside the door, right? It's that we get used to that in the small town. There's no doubt about it. And I don't, like, I guess in my mind, we're talking about the median that we're looking at putting in. I understand why the median was put in, so people aren't trying to turn left in there and causing that traffic backlog. So I think the first thing to do is try the signs. Let's see if that works, obviously. But I also wanted to find out what we were planning on the median. Was this going to be a median that's, 3 feet tall so that people can't step over it and prevent that jaywalking? But because to me, that's kind of ugly having those big, tall meridian there, as opposed to, I was thinking something a little more
Streamlined.
yeah, that looked a little prettier than there. When you're talking about being butt ugly, if you put something that's really tall all along there, it's going to still look ugly. I was thinking something a little more.
Under the impression it's supposed to be a planter type, like with.
Public Works. Do you have any ideas?
Yes, it's basically just a 6-8 inch curb with a small median, and then planter boxes could be installed on that median. It's not going to be
A permanent.
no.
Yeah, okay, because
We're
I'd hate
talking
to see.
we're talking big bucks if we want to do something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't have big bucks unless bylaw wants to pay for it.
Yeah.
They could sit there and give out jaywalking tickets and pay for it in a short time. Because that's still going to be the issue. They're still going to park on the other side, and they're still going to jaywalk across the street, whether that median is there or not. So the median has solved that one issue. We now have to get the traffic flow out of it. And the other thing I was thinking, on the one side along the parking lot or along the back alley, maybe putting some barricades along there, so it made it quite clear that you had to go out this way, and you can't, sort of shortchange it at the alleyway there. That might help too. And then you could put an exit only sign right at the end of some meridian there, or some of those parking blocks. Move them over to that area, cut off the back alley a little bit. So that's my comments.
Councillor Courtney?
Well, brace yourself, Al.
Okay.
No. Yeah, those concrete blocks, is, like you say, is just been quite the discussion piece. But realistically, the whole purpose of that was for the safety reasons and safety issues. And I think we shouldn't be quite done thinking up a plan on that. The problem with that whole system is traffic flow in and out of the post office and making sure people are safe. I think we should, my opinion, is turn that street running, the east-west street there in front of the post office is a one-way running east. And put a curb right at the turnoff, so you can't turn right off of the southbound highway turning in there, and just have the walkway, put the nice crosswalk, a nice little curb right there, and leave all that traffic, leave that all open for all the businesses on a one-way running east, so that all the traffic is one way, so that they can park on both sides of the street. And on a one-way like that, there's more chance of being safe if you're gonna walk up to the corner and across, and then exiting and entering going into that parking lot. It's all one way, one flow, and it's simple. The signage, you can put up the signage anyways, but if that street is a one-way. It doesn't really affect those businesses that are along there, because people will just naturally access it that way, and then into the Northern Lights, into the laundromat, and then the post office. From the four-way stop, everybody knows when they turn that way, it's all one way, right? So it's just an idea. I think for safety's sake, to me, that makes the most sense. So that's maybe something we can look at is doing that, to do a test on that and see if the one way would work on that. I mean, go ahead.
Councillor Gilroy.
It's hard to legislate common sense. Because you talk about fields. Fields, there's only so much parking. One of the problems at the post office is really not enough parking for their parking spot. If you notice, quite often they have in the, I want to say the muddy part at the back, but they have how to write van with potatoes and stuff like that there. And some people do park back there, but it's muddy and some people don't want to walk there. And so going with knowing that I do, my family and I do a lot of walking in there. We walk to the post office. We're one of the people who watch out for the traffic in that area as we walk over there. A couple of things I would like to talk about. One, I have the same complaints that Michael's had about how ugly it looks. Probably worse than the sweater he's wearing right now. No, I'm kidding. I like the sweater. You were waiting for that. But anyway, from reading this, it seemed to be the reason you put that we put the blocks up in the first place was people would want to turn into that one entrance, and that would cause a backlog all the way back. I'm of the opinion that maybe we don't need anything along there, but we need to have a no entrance sign on that part, and just if you want to put it as an exit only, fine, an exit only to come out, but just have them enter on the one way only. You know, where the delivery truck would go through 48, I think it is, isn't it? 48 goes. Yeah, just go in through 48 and out. And if you have to repaint to make better parking spots, fine. If we could encourage whoever owns the land just past that to increase the parking for the post office, that would be good. But I'd also like to see either that made a four-way stop. I know it may be difficult to do that, but a four-way stop makes it a lot safer than just a plain crosswalk there. I know that because we actually quite often have to let people go out so that we don't get hit walking along that area. And that's more my concern, is that if you want to put make it a four-way stop or something that will definitely make the people respect the people who are walking, maybe people will actually take it a little more seriously too. But no matter what we do, you're not going to stop people from jaywalking. And so I'd rather just cut off that one entrance, make it an exit only, right on there, encourage them to redo the parking lot so it's, instead of slanted parking, repave it so that you can get the maximum parking in there, and just put a crosswalk, and then you don't have to have people worrying about it. Because my boss was here, and he didn't know how to get out. He actually went the wrong way. Yes, he's here all the time, but my other boss as well, Michael. He was driving out at night, and not being familiar with the area, he actually tried to go the wrong way on there. And I'm worried that that's going to happen, where people at night, where the vision's not that great, even with these new bulbs, that they're going to have accidents that way, and people will get hit who are walking back and forth to the gym and that. So that's my opinion, is the do not enter sign, exit only, and then the enter by that area, and some sort of four-way stop.
Can you put a four-way stop on the highway? You would have to ask transportation, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And I think Supervisor Public Works?
They wouldn't allow a four-way stop.
Okay.
Especially close to that light.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at least a new crosswalk there. Would they allow that?
There should be crosswalks there already.
Crosswalks there already.
Yeah. better painting, or redo the painting.
Even a sign, actually, the crosswalk sign, so people know it's there.
Oh, well, here's my favorite topic. We could do a crosswalk button, and we could put a solar panel on it.
Even just the sign, because you can't tell all the time.
Yeah. I actually, since everybody's finished once around, I actually agree with what Councillor Gilroy is saying. We could remove those barricades completely if you were to put, instead of entrance on the front of the post office, if you were to say no exit. No, exit only, exit only. And then on the other side, it says no entrance, or you wouldn't even have to. You would just say exit only, because you're not going in that way. And then if you repaint all those lines and you move those blocks, nobody's going to want to come in there, because it's not conducive to the way they want to park. But you have to realign the blocks, and you have to paint the lines in that parking lot. And then we're going to so that's exit only. We're going to enter from the alley. Only from the alley would you enter.
Yeah, so your angle parking would be this way instead of
Yep.
that way.
And then you could take all those blocks away, because all you're getting is people exiting and they're turning right to the east. Of course, the stupid ones will go across, but
They're gonna try and turn left there. and they're
Yeah.
gonna back everybody
Well, you can have a no left turn
but they're
sign
in
there,
they're in the parking lot.
That, I know, but then everybody's trying to get out of the parking
But
lot.
you can have a no left turn sign
Yeah.
on the way out.
You could.
Okay, Public Works.
The issue is, as soon as those blocks are removed, people are gonna be turning left into that parking lot.
Put that on.
Oh, sorry. As soon as the parking barriers out front are removed, or the median's removed, people are gonna start coming from the east and turning left into that parking lot.
That's why
And-
you do it all at once.
Yeah, and and the only way they're gonna stop is if everyone is ticketed. That's the only way to ever stop. The issue is when they're turning left there, they were backing traffic up onto the highway, and it was causing accidents at the intersection. So removing the barrier out front, I think, is gonna cause more problems than it's gonna solve.
We'll start with the signage change and the realigning of the cell.
Because we can't do anything this late, really, in the season. I don't even know if we could paint lines in that parking lot now. This is going to have to be a spring issue. But it certainly is something to think about. Yes?
But then, painting parking lines in a private parking lot, again, we're stepping into the.
No, but we can work with these brands, because they're already aware of this. So here's a solution. Actually, here's two solutions. So give them an opportunity
To weigh in on which one they want. They're getting a lot of complaints also through the post office. It's the staff at the post office. So, anyone else? Again,
One way.
Councillor Portley?
Barricades have to go.
One way.
Just a one-way.
That's the best way.
That's all I'm gonna say.
This would be the only one-way street in town.
That's okay? No, it's not the only one-way street.
Well, other than the U over by the St. Andrews, and how many people really are flummoxed by that,
The
honestly?
street in front of my mom and dad's is a one-way.
Which one is that? The,
Coming in.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've gone
that's a
down the
one-way.
wrong way on
So we
that.
have other one-ways here. Yeah. And a one-way, the flow, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You just leave the way it is, and everybody's used to going in there, and just nobody be able to turn right coming off the highway.
You have to go to ATV.
That's right. That's right. Very simple.
I would like a traffic analysis on that one, but is there anyone on this side that wants to weigh in? Okay. So what is the decision on this? We've given you our feedback.
I think we need more.
Shall we see what East Prairie wants to do?
Yeah, once I meet with the administrator, I can report back.
Okay.
And
Councillor Long?
And again, remediation work and improvements are being done next year. So really, there's not much we can do this year. And springtime is when it's scheduled, I'm assuming. So we should have in place by that time either a traffic flow or a motion to come up with a solution, whether it's a one-way, which I think is a great idea. God, I sound like Trump when I said that. But yeah, I think, take down the wall. And then that one way would solve a lot of the issues. And make a lot of people happy that ugly thing's gone.
Well, you wouldn't need the median if it was a
Yeah.
one-way.
You have a little median just for traffic.
Just to stop it from going, like you see in all the areas.
Councillor Gilroy?
Do they own this, do the Métis own that lot where the,
Yes.
maybe when you're talking to them, you could, put a bug in their ear that might be, if they want to keep that in good repair, that could also help alleviate their complaints by making that additional parking. It's just a thought as part of the
that's true.
discussion.
That's true.
You're nothing
it
ventured,
forward.
nothing gained. If you could just talk to them about that possibly and say, this may be another way to increase the business for them and just make it a lot easier in the area.
Well, and the fact is, if they were to pave that lot or whatever, I'm sure we might be looking at redoing the alley, because if they're going to pave both sides, maybe we would do a section of alley there. There's some options. One way.
We're still gonna have the people walking across the street,
Yes.
which is the problem, right? And that's where the near misses come. So unless we're gonna get really tough on enforcement, they're gonna cross across there, and there's still, one way might make it better, because you only have to look one way, not both ways, when you cross.
Still look the wrong way. Yeah.
All right. So we've received it for information. No, we haven't. Yes, we've received it for information, and we've directed administration to contact the East Prairie Metis settlement and have the right signage installed. I'm not so sure about the end of that motion. And have a discussion on signage?
How about return to council the options, so we can look at it again?
Or do you want us to just stop it and contact East Prairie Metis settlement regarding signage?
Right.
Regarding signage. Who made the motion?
I did,
Would
but
you-
I'll take the.
Friendly amendment?
Yep.
Okay, so, and contact the East Prairie Metis settlement regarding signage. All in favor? So that'll come back with more information. Thank you very much for bringing that forward, and it was a good report.
Want to take a walk?
No, they stay for the
Do
winter.
you have a loader?
I do.
You have a truck? I can run the loader.
Councillor Panasic.
I was just gonna make a motion that council appoint Vern Walker as a proxy holder and approve the attendance of Vernon at the Gas Alberta annual meeting of shareholders and to sign the proxy vote.
Can we designate Vern Walker as the Public Works Supervisor? Just to put his title into the motion?
We can?
Okay.
And remove the other portion for the attendance of the meeting, because that's an administration thing and I was going anyway.
Yeah.
So just basically.
As a proxy holder?
Proxy holder, yeah.
As a proxy holder at the Gas Alberta meeting of shareholders, is that what you want?
Yes.
And period.
Okay, and to sign the proxy vote. Okay. Do you have that change, recording secretary?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Any, could you give us background on why that is?
Basically, the attendance at the Gas Alberta shareholders meeting, there is voting that is done at that meeting. What will happen is Gas Alberta give me a voting card now. Normally it is a council member. We did do it this way last year because there was no council member available to go. So it's okay with them if that is done, as long as it's appointed by council.
And what will the voting be on?
Basically just on directors, election of directors, and on acceptance of reports and basically financial statements.
Are there any other questions regarding this motion? Do you have any concerns you want, as councillors, put forward for Mr. Walker to take forward to the meeting? Councillor Panasic?
No questions. I was just gonna say I made it because I know that Councillor Courtley and Danak are unable to go, and they're the ones on it, so that's why I made that motion.
Any comments on the actual Gas Alberta? No. All in favor of the motion then? Carried. Thank you very much.
Just one
Councillor
quick-
Law?
Sorry.
No, can't talk.
How expensive is the Radisson this time? Are they popping out at $400 like they did on my one?
We actually booked outside the conference and got a better deal on the rooms than,
You booked in Edmonton.
It was terrible. Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think, well, that,
$480, I think it was that room.
yeah, that was a major mistake by the executive secretary at the time.
I hope it was worth it.
It's never worth $480.
He got to spend a couple of nights with me, so it was worth it.
That was worth it.
There you are.
You and Bert.
We'll call a 10-minute recess.